Hey, it's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. So, have you ever been in a position where you thought to yourself, I really just want someone to love and care for me and appreciate me and be with me? That's all I want in a relationship. That's all I want from someone. And you're thinking, is that too much to ask? If this sounds like you, stay tuned. If you don't know who I am, I'm Sandra Bellamy, author of Diary Confessions of a Hyperromantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Asexual Life, and also Asexual Perspectives, both best-selling asexual books. Grab your copies on Amazon. So yes, how much compatibility and commitment is needed for a successful relationship? So if you're thinking that all you want in a relationship is someone to love and care for you and appreciate you, and you think that's enough, unfortunately, it's not enough for a successful relationship. There's a big saying in the world, probably got through romantic movies and stuff, the love is enough. Love conquers all. And unfortunately, this isn't always the case in practical terms of a real relationship, off screen, in reality, real life rather than fantasy. And this is because of something called compatibility. Now, even if you love someone so much, you might be or incompatible with them. Incompatible, right? I'm saying uncompatible for some reason tonight, but you might be incompatible with each other. Incompatibility, unfortunately, means that you can't be in a relationship with that person, right? So, commitment and compatibility are two essential ingredients you need for a successful relationship. But even if you're really committed to a person, if you're incompatible and your differences are just too extreme and you're going in opposite directions, then it's not going to work. So, what would a good level of commitment and compatibility look like? Because not everyone's the same. Everyone's got nuances to their character, to their personality, and people have got different things going on in their lives. Because, if you're going into a relationship with someone else other than yourself, you've got to take into account the fact that the other person has got a life of their own. They are doing a different job usually. They are having different friends, being in a different environment, and all this can affect and impact the relationship. So it's one thing to have attraction, it's another thing to have mutual attraction. You've got to have mutual attraction in the long term for it to work. But when you go on a date with someone, when you're just first meeting someone, when you're just first getting to know them, you might not be really attracted to them in the beginning, right? This is because some people are more attracted to people because of their personality than their looks. And some people don't initially see things that they find attractive if they're not attracted so much to their looks. But I'm a person who has been in the past able to be attracted to a guy that I wasn't attracted to before, that wasn't my type, because I got to know that person as a friend first, and I got to have an emotional connection with them of sorts, and then I got to become more and more attracted to them the more time I spent with them, the more communication I had with them, and the more involved I got with them. So just because someone isn't looking like your type initially, it might not mean that they are wrong for you in the long term for a relationship. Chemistry can be wonderful, it can be exciting, it can be explosive, but just because you and another person have chemistry does not make you compatible. Now, you might be thinking, hang on a minute, how does this apply to asexuals if you don't like sex? Like, isn't chemistry to do with sexual attraction? Not completely, utterly, and necessarily. So you could get someone who's sexually attracted to you, but you could be highly aesthetically attracted to them, romantically attracted to them, and emotionally attracted to them. If you put emotional, romantic, and aesthetic attraction, for example, this is just an example of three attractions together, that can be just as explosive as someone who's sexually attracted to you. And I think this is sometimes where asexuals could go wrong in terms of the impression they get from heterosexual, for example. They could be thinking if a heterosexual holds back on what they're really thinking about you. So, say they're really sexually attracted to you, they really want sex with you, and they really want to touch your body and they want to feel you because they're sexually attracted to you. You could mistake that for the fact that they feel romantic and aesthetic and emotional attraction for you, and that's the driving force behind the way they are behaving, the way they are towards you, showing attraction to you. But you've got to remember that sexuals are wired differently to asexuals. Sexuals are still largely driven by sexual attraction, sexual needs, and sexual desires. Whereas in the main, asexuals are not experiencing sexual attraction, or they don't experience in the way other people do. They have a lack of it. So they're not driven by that so much. Yes, you can get people on the more grey end of the asexual spectrum, such as demisexuals, and they have to have a strong, deep emotional bond before they can experience sexual attraction. So if that person who's a demisexual, for example, has got to know that heterosexual, for example, over a long period of time, then yes, they could develop that explosive sexual attraction feeling, and then it be reciprocated between them and the other person. But they would need emotional attraction. So there has to be another element there. Now, heterosexuals can still have an emotional connection. They can still have aesthetic attraction and romantic attraction. But usually, for example, heterosexual guys, a lot of the time, they will go on sexual attraction first and they might go on aesthetic attraction. They might feel a little bit of romance, maybe, but the emotional attraction and connection with heterosexual guys won't usually be the driving force initially. But if you get into conversations with a heterosexual guy and you get to understand him and you get to emotionally understand him, that's how you can have more attraction between the two of you without it just being based on sexual attraction. But you have to understand, sorry, I had to move my leg there. But you have to understand that, heterosexuals and asexuals can have different types of attractions. And a lot of the time, sexual attraction is a driving force with heterosexuals. So always be aware of that. Sorry, I thought I had something on my leg. Very strange sensation. So what we have to look for is commitment and compatibility, not just attraction, because attraction can fade or attraction can be addictive, right? But if we get addicted to that attraction, then we might overlook red flags of someone, how they're behaving, their attitude towards us, the fact that they're not actually compatible with us. So you have to have commitment, and the level of commitment you need for a successful relationship obviously depends on how long you've known each other as to what level of investment you're going to have. But having said this, it needs equal commitment, right? Equal commitment to have the best chance of success and happiness long term. Because if one person is putting more time, energy, and effort into that relationship consistently than the other person is, it'll feel one-sided, it'll breed resentment, contentment, and it'll just feel off and that something's not right. And one person's putting all the time, energy, and effort into it, while the other person's like dragging their heels or being flaky or not actually that into the person the same way that they are. Does that make sense? So commitment should be equal. Obviously, you're not going to necessarily have exactly the same level of input every single day, every single time, but in general, it should be the same level of commitment, the same level of time, energy, and effort that the people want to spend with each other, messaging each other, voice calling each other, texting each other, video calling with each other, physically seeing each other in person, right? Because if you've got a person that really wants to see the other person, that person doesn't, that is actually an incompatibility. So commitment and compatibility go together, but compatibility also goes a stage further than that. So if one person is much more committed to the other person than they are back, so it's not reciprocal, that's an incompatibility. Right? So if I put consistent time, energy, and effort into messaging a guy every single day, and it's the same level, the same kind of number of messages, the same volume of words roughly, and got this, I'm eager to speak to him, enthusiastic, and that is always maintained and sustained. But then the guy who's like super into me in the beginning then starts to back off, then starts putting his friends before me. Now, obviously, there's nothing wrong with having friends. You shouldn't ditch your friends to be with someone. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying in the beginning, the level of commitment and time, energy, and effort should still be maintained and the same throughout the relationship. There may be times when you get more used to each other and maybe you don't message each other quite as much because you're more used to each other. But in general, it should still work that you're both like equally wanting to see each other and spend time with each other, and you're both enthusiastic. If the other person isn't enthusiastic to talk to you, to see you, to message you, it will just feel really one-sided and really off. Right? If you are experiencing in the stages of dating, the very beginning stages of online dating, that you are putting more time, energy, and effort into messaging someone than they are with you, you'll notice it. Because if you look, see how much text they write in comparison to how much you write. If you're there writing a big paragraph and they're just writing like 4 words, you're putting more time, energy, and effort into them. Of course, they might be on a lunch break going, love you, babes, on a lunch break, if you got to the stage where you're saying love, right? But you would expect them to follow up by saying, like something more than that. If they have a bus journey, a train journey, they could be messaging you on that during that time. Do you know what I'm saying? They shouldn't just be leaving you a few quick words a day and that's it, because you can't progress a relationship like that. You've got to have commitment, time, and dedication to get to know each other through messages and voice calls and seeing people, the other person in dates, real life scenarios, because a person can portray themselves very differently online to what they are offline. Eventually, offline, they will give themselves away to what they're really like, because they'll have to be in your space a lot more, each other's space a lot more. You'll be able to see where they're looking. So if you're on a date with them, but they're looking around at other women and people elsewhere, they're not really that interested in you. They're not really that into you, even if they say they are. They're just lying. They're just hiding stuff, right? So you can tell if the person's words and actions consistently and persistently match, then that's great. You're on the right track. But if they don't, and the words and actions just don't match up, they're lying, they're deceiving, they're not telling the truth, even if they say they are, right? So don't fall for it. So commitment should be a two-way thing. A relationship is a team effort. One person should care about the other person as much as the other person cares about them. They should be equally committed, equally wanting to put time, energy, and effort in, equally concerned about the other person's welfare and well-being, equally concerned about the emotional state of the other person. Like, if there's any difficult conversations, they should both want to have it, even if it's hard and it feels really difficult to have it. It needs to be done. Now, commitment. I came across someone within the last 24 hours who said to me, I just want someone who'll love me, care about me, and want to be with me. That's all I want in a relationship, right? But I said to them, even if you love someone, it's not enough without compatibility. You've got to have compatibility. I can love a lot of guys, right? A lot of guys could love me, but it doesn't mean to say I'm compatible with them. So what is compatibility? Compatibility means that you are in sync with each other, if you like, even in multiple aspects of your life, that your life paths match up to being conducive, to be productive and a positive thing with each other, and it means that you complement each other or are similar or the same as each other, right? So for example, compatibility you need in multiple aspects of your life with this person, right? So compatibility, I've already said about commitment. You've got to have equal commitment from both sides to make you compatible. Because if that person's not in the same place as you, it's not going to work. So if they want a casual hookup and you want a serious committed relationship, that is not compatible. If they're like very flaky and they're not really interested that much in pursuing dates, but you're proactive, you're really wanting to date because you're really wanting to find someone suitable for a long-term relationship, they're not compatible with you. They're not at the same life stage as you. They don't want a relationship that badly, that seriously. They can take it or leave it. That's not compatible with you. If you're a person that likes loads of text messaging, likes to organize video calls, audio calls, but they're not into that. They don't like texting much. They really don't like being on camera. They're not prepared to voice call you. That's not compatible. It's going to make you deeply unhappy. It's not compatible. There is someone I know who's on YouTube talking about relationships, and she loves text and her husband doesn't. And she's learnt to accept that. And he does call her, and she's okay with that. But I think had she thought about these type of things before she got into a relationship and got married, I think it would have been different, because I can tell that's not something she's completely happy with. But she's come to terms with to accept that about him or not be with him, right? She'd rather be with him. But if that's going to make you really miserable fundamentally, and you're not going to have a happy life because of it, you're not compatible. Why waste your time on someone who's not making you happy when you can be happier by yourself, or find someone else that'll be pleased to hear from you, will be enthusiastic to text you, will want to see your face on camera because they'll want to see your beautiful smile, and they'll want to just be with you. If you're having a hard time, they'll want to be with you in that moment because they truly care, love, and adore you. And they won't want you to go through difficult times on your own. You know, this is all about the level of compatibility, which is to do with the energy and effort that you're both putting into that relationship, right? You should, like I said, you should equally care about each other. So we've got the level of commitment has got to be equal. The time, energy, and effort you put into the relationship got to be equal. You should be equally enthusiastic to see each other. You should both be wanting the same thing. Like if someone wants a casual relationship, you want a serious relationship, that's incompatibility. If you want to get married, they don't want to get married, that's incompatibility. If you want kids, they don't want kids, that's incompatibility. If you want to live with someone, that person doesn't want to live with you or anyone, you're incompatible. You see how this goes? If you want to adopt, even if you don't want kids by natural means, they don't want any kids at all whatsoever, you're not suitable. You're not compatible. Even if you're attracted to that person, they're attracted to you. Even if you have love feelings for that person, they have love feelings for you. If you want kids and they don't, that's incompatible. You can't be in a long-term relationship. So stop wasting your time staying attached to someone who's not right for you. It's only going to end up in more heartache, more heartbreak, and more pain. It's better to release sooner than spend more months torturing each other, because you know that this love is not going to last forever. You're not going to be able to be with this person forever, right? So what other aspects, like family compatibility? Now you might think, well, each other's family doesn't really matter, but in some cultures it really matters. Some cultures are very, very family orientated, right? And if they don't like your partner, your family don't like your partner, right? You have got to decide who's more important, your family or your partner. Because your family hate your partner, but you love your partner, you'll always have a battle between your partner and your family. Now, if you're prepared to stick up to your family and say, hey, I love my partner no matter what, and even if you don't see your family that much, your partner is the most important thing, and it stays that way, and that's what your partner wants, then that's, you could be compatible. But if your family hates your person, and your person feels like really miserable because your family's hating on them, and you're, say, like really into family stuff, spending a lot of time with them, that can pull you apart. It's not really compatible, because they'll start thinking, well, I'm not a priority, or I'm no longer a priority. Your family's more important, and it might be more important to you than an actual relationship. It might be more important to you than your partner. But if you get someone who also comes from that background where family is the most important thing, then you both have family is the most important thing before each other, which is compatible, because then you both think the same way, right? If you've got different values, so we've got family, we're talking about commitment, we're talking about time, energy, and effort, enthusiasm, all these things need to be compatible. Do you understand? All those things need to be compatible. Deal breakers: marriage, kids, of course, sex. If you're asexual, you absolutely hate sex, you cannot stand it, and the other person absolutely loves sex and they can't live without it, that's incompatibility. Incompatible, right? If you're an asexual that doesn't mind doing some sexual acts, even if it's non-penetrative, and your partner is willing to have that as their sexual pleasure without having penetration, that could be compatible. You have to discuss that and make sure that you both like those same types of sexual acts and you're both comfortable with it, right? And that your partner could live without sex forever, and that you get to not have penetration forever because you don't like it or don't want it or don't need it, or all three, right? So you have to work out if you're compatible, right? Say someone actually does value family a lot and you don't even speak to your family, and you want to spend more time with them and they want to spend more time with their family, and they're torn between the two of you, that's not real compatibility. Like, you're gonna make each other miserable. It's not gonna be good. If your partner's happy for you to spend a lot more time with your family and they don't mind because they're a lot more independent, then that could work out. It could be compatible, right? So you don't have to be exactly the same, but your lifestyles and the way you are and your lives have to be in sync in such a way that you either are the same, similar, or complementary to each other. So if you've got a family who you adore and love, you love spending a lot of time with your family, and your partner is very independent. They like going off hiking with their friends. They like going camping at weekends, for example. They don't need you to be there with them. They're happy to be on their own with other people while you're spending time with your family. That could be compatible, highly compatible, because you're both getting your needs met from other people whilst it not bothering the other person. But if something you fundamentally love to do or they love to do bothers the other person, that's not compatible. One of them or both of you is going to be miserable, right? Do you understand? This is very important. Without compatibility, your relationship will not succeed long term and be healthy and happy and sustainable in a good way. So if we take lifestyle, right? If they are always out partying all the time and you want to stay at home and you don't like partying at all, is that compatible? Well, if they like partying all the time, you like being at home all the time, but you're happy to spend a lot of time apart, that can be compatible. If you don't mind them partying, they don't mind you staying at home. But if you want someone, for example, who wants to stay at home with you, watch movies, have popcorn together, have chats, do gardening, cooking, making up stories with each other, I don't know, whatever you want to do. If you basically want someone who's gonna want to stay at home as much as you, or at least be 3/4 loving the home, and only go out a little bit, but you've got a party animal on your hands who wants to be out all the time, and you need someone who's going to be with you at home, that's not compatible. Same as if you've got someone who's very extrovert and they cannot be indoors very much. They have to be out nearly all the time. And they're like, I want my partner to come out with me. I know, because otherwise I'm just dancing with all different women or whatever, different friends, different people, or I'm bored on my own. I think my partner should be with me. And I want to go out with my partner. I don't want to be going out on my own all the time. I don't want to be just going out with friends. I want to be out with my partner. Say they want to be out with you 5 days a week at least, and you're like, my God, I'm introverted and I'm just like, most I could do is maybe 1 or 2 days, and I don't want to be go out partying, go to a quiet restaurant or a cafe or something, that's not compatible long term, is it? Yes, people can change. Yes, a party animal could decide not to be partying all the time. The introverted person could decide, actually, I get a bit bored of staying indoors. There's something not quite right. I'm more interested in outdoor stuff now. I want to go explore the world a bit more. The extrovert can, enable me to do that with their confidence and, their security of knowing they know what they're doing when they're going out. That might work. But if you're too different, it's not going to work. An extreme extrovert and extreme introvert could drive each other nuts, or just drift apart, or be pulled apart, or not together enough, not prioritizing each other enough. If you've got someone who's a homebody who loves being at home and they want their partner to be at home with them, but the other person likes to be out all the time, they want their partner out with them all the time, that's not going to work. If you like to be if you like to be in bed by 10:30 every night, right? The other person likes to be in bed by 4 a.m. every night. Unless you want to sleep separately or you're happy for your partner to come to bed later than you, that's likely not going to be compatible long term. But if you are going to bed at 10:30 and your partner's up to like 4 a.m., but you don't mind that they're up till 4 a.m. because they then sleep until midday and you get up early for the gym, so they're asleep when you're awake, and you're literally sleeping while they're awake. You know what I mean? They're sleeping while you're awake and you're sleeping while they're awake. That might work if you can meet in the middle and have some quality time with each other. But it might also be too annoying. It might be just your two different schedules and you can't ever meet up, or if you do, it's hurried or stressful, or one of you has to sacrifice getting up early or sleeping later. Or, you know what I mean? It can be really hard and draining. So you've got to think about that. But obviously, if you do end up in a relationship, jobs change, shift patterns change, right? So you then got to think, how would you make that work? Because not everything stays the same. And this is why some people drift apart and some people can't make the relationship work because they're no longer compatible. Either they were never compatible in the first place, but the attraction got in the way and the attraction was so strong, they just ignored the compatibility and they were just getting on with it, or over time, circumstances have changed, or over time they've changed. And so it's just not compatible anymore. And it's hard to get that back. And some people just can't get it back. If you've got different morals, values, beliefs, and ethics that are just so different and opposite to each other, that's not usually compatible. If one person loves fighting, the other person believes don't fight. Maybe for self-defense, but they just don't believe in fighting. They believe sorting out everything through peaceful words or peaceful means. It's not going to be compatible. If someone loves a lot of physical contact, sensual touching, kissing, caressing, cuddling, but the other person doesn't like that, maybe they like sex, maybe they like a quick cuddle and kiss before sex, maybe afterwards, maybe not, and that's it. That's not compatible. The other person's going to feel they're not getting their needs met. They're feeling unloved and cared for, and the other person just thinks it's too much smothering or whatever. You know what I mean? So avoidant and an anxious attachment style, they often get attracted to each other, but they're the opposites. They're really the worst combination, because an anxious attachment style needs to usually planning ahead, structure, stability. They get the stability through planning ahead, planning for different eventualities, scheduling things, reassurance, direct communication, talking problems out, not waiting around for the right time necessarily to talk, but talking when they need to talk because they're anxious and they've got to get it off their head, and out into the open, right? They need to tackle things head on, get problems out in the open, get them solved as quick as possible, because otherwise anxiety builds up and it causes them a lot of tension, a lot of problems, a lot of ill health. The avoidant thinks, oh my God, there's a problem here. I want to avoid it. I don't want to talk about it. I'd rather be doing something else. I'd rather make up an excuse not to talk to that person. I'd rather not be there. We don't talk about this type of thing. I'm not into talking about this type of thing. I don't want to know, or I don't want to talk about it. This conversation's closed, or we're not having this conversation. They avoid the problem, the issue, the difficulty. They avoid the hard conversations. They avoid tackling things like that. So these people are just completely incompatible. One needs to get the answer and get it sorted to ease their anxiety, to ease their stress and their worry and their pain. The other one wants to avoid doing that for the person, with the person, so they make their anxiety and stress worse. And the avoidance is like, oh, this is just too much, right? And I don't want to be here. It's just too much for me. It's too needy, too blah, blah, blah. It's too much in my face. It's too much. They want too much from me. They expect too much from me. And I just want to shut down and avoid the difficult conversations. I don't want to tell them the truth, right? It's just bad communication between the two of them. It's just wanting opposite things. Anxious attachment wants reassurance. Avoidance wants to like not talk about things. They just don't work. They're not compatible for a healthy, happy, long-term, sustainable relationship in that state. The anxious person would have to try and find ways maybe to understand that it's not the best time to talk to the avoidant person. So maybe wait till a little bit later to discuss things with them. But the avoidant would be having to say, hey, I do know that we need to have this difficult conversation. I find these things hard, but I'm willing to do that for you because I love you. And the avoidant would still set a time aside for that person. They might say, look, I can't deal with it right now. I need half an hour out to think about what you spoke to me about, but I'm still going to come back and talk to you. Because you can't have a healthy relationship if you're just avoiding difficult conversations forever and you're just not having them. The avoidant person would have to meet the anxious person halfway and say, look, I can't deal with this now because I need time to think. I can't just be there in the moment like you are, but I will get back to you and give you a time scale. If that person who's avoidant is just not even wanting a difficult conversation with you and not actually having it and making progress and getting it dealt with, that's not healthy. And it's incompatible in the long term. So you've got all these differences. In terms of finances, are you compatible? If you are a saver and you're very careful with money and you budget for things and you've got different money for different things, one's for education, for example, one's food and bills, one's for entertainment, one is for like things that you want in the long term. One's just the savings, right? So you've got these different types of money for these different types of thing. The other person is frivolous with money. They're not putting aside money for bills. They're not really caring when they do. They'll just do what they want when they want. They're not thinking about their money. They're not managing it well. They're not allocating it. They're just blowing the money. Maybe they're in debt. Maybe they bet on horses. Maybe they gamble, it's just complete incompatibility. One's very careful with money, structured, saving, and thinks about money carefully. The other just blows money and doesn't care, right? It's incompatible. It's not going to make a healthy relationship because you both have completely different things, right? Say one person puts money and materialistic things first and is driven by materialistic things, and that's what makes them happy, and they think that's success. But the other person knows that a big house, a flashy car, tons of money doesn't make you successful. Makes you successful is understanding yourself, having a deeper awareness of yourself and your surroundings, having an awareness of how you interact with others, how they interact with you, working on developing, growing yourself, having the things that you need, the essentials, but not having the things just for frivolity and things for the ego, right? When you've got these two people got completely different views of the world and what success means, this is not compatible. This person's just materialistic. This person's like caring about people. This person's walking all over people just to get what they want, to get money, to get power, to get a car, to say, I'm better than you. I'm the best in the world, right? And this person's like coming from a place of love, of kindness, thinking, I want to help some people. I may not be the best person in the world. I may not do everything right all the time. I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be the most powerfulest person in the world. And I'm okay with that. I'm not going to have the most amount of money in the world. In fact, money is a byproduct of me helping other people, maybe, hopefully, or it's okay to have it as a byproduct. But I'm not driven by money. Money is not my main motivator. If I die with friends and family and people around me that love me, if I live with people caring about me, if I live with enough money to be happy, if I live with kindness and appreciation, even if I don't have a ton of items, and maybe this person wants to declutter and get rid of items. This other person just wants to keep buying and spending thousands of pounds on things they don't really need. That's not even an asset. These people are incompatible. Their mindsets are completely different. Their mindsets, what drives them, is completely different. This is not really compatible. Obviously, if you don't care that your partner's materialistic and got completely different values and stuff to you, then maybe it will be okay, right? But in general, this is an incompatibility because you're so different, especially if you hate materialistic people, people who are just driven by power and money and fame and fortune, driven by that above all else. It's okay for people to want a lot of money. It's okay for people to want to be famous, but not at the expense of other people, right? If you're that way inclined and you believe that. But if the other person is like, I want money and power no matter what, and I will do whatever it takes and trample over whatever person it takes to get there. I will do dodgy shit. I will put people down. I will psychologically destroy them to get what I want. These people are poles apart. Their natures are completely different. This is just going to cause arguments. It's not going to be a healthy relationship. You're not compatible. You're not compatible. If someone likes stability and security by having a home, a regular home to go to, which is fixed, they want a mortgage or they want a rent, they want to stay fixed, but the other person loves traveling. They can't stay in one place for very long. They want to go around Australia, they want to go around the world, they want to take 6 months out in Los Angeles, for example. They want to spend 5 months in Switzerland. They then want to go to Germany, whatever they want. But you are the type of person that wants to stay in the same place. You like having a home, you like having a house, you want a mortgage, you want to be settled, you want to make that house your home, you want the fixed abode. Whereas the other person doesn't like the fixed life, they like to just move around all the time, travel. That is incompatible. Life goals. If that person's life goal is to spend 2 more years, for example, in the UK, but then they want to emigrate abroad, and you live in the UK and you absolutely adore the UK, you want to stay in the UK, maybe you want to move to a different area than the UK, but you absolutely love the UK, right? And you want someone who's going to be with you in the UK, staying with you for life, maybe marriage and kids, maybe not, maybe just a marriage bit, maybe just a life partner, but you want someone who's fixed in the UK with you, someone you can come home to at night, someone you can kiss and cuddle, someone you can rely on to be there for you and not be traveling for weeks or months on end. It's not compatible if that person loves traveling all the time. You're not compatible even if that person wants to go and travel around the world for a year, but you want a partner now that's going to be with you now, staying where you are. Right? Even if you love that person, you don't have to wait for them. You shouldn't wait for someone, right? You have your life to lead. If they want to go off for a year, let them go off and say, if I'm still single when you get back, then maybe we might be compatible for a relationship. But if you want a relationship right now with someone who's stable, secure, and actually, near where you live, and they don't want that, they're not compatible for you at this point in your life. And you can't go, but what if in a year's time we end up being compatible? What if in that year you meet the person of your dreams and you realize this person that wants to go traveling was never your compatible partner in the first place? Maybe you're not even into traveling, or you don't even like the countries they travel to and they want a travel buddy in the end. Or maybe they meet someone where they're traveling who's ideal person for them. You're not compatible. You need someone who's looking for what you're looking for in this moment and the long term to make it a very much more stable and secure relationship. Right? You need to be thinking of different areas of your life. Are you compatible together? Finances. Are you financially both sound? What is your financial goals for the future? Career. Is your career in your country, but their career, they know in 2 years' time, is in a completely another country, right? Lifestyle. Are you working different hours at different times? It can work because I've done that before with an ex when we lived together, but it does get difficult. If they are leaving at a different time to you, they can wake you up. They can put the shower on, be noisy, you can get your sleep disrupted and everything like that. Especially if you're staying in the same room or your walls are paper thin, right? You've got to think about this stuff, right? So there's things that are not completely compatible that you can work around, but there are deal breaker compatibilities that you can't work around that are just too different. Too different. right? What is your long-term goals for the relationship? If your long-term goals for a relationship is, I want to get married within 2 years. I want to have children within the 3rd year we're together, right? So the year after marriage. So I want to, so you've been with this person, say you've been with this person a year, and then within the next 2 years you want to get married to them. Then within the 1st year of marriage you want kids with them, right? But that person is like, oh, I don't want to get married or have kids for at least another 10 years. That isn't compatible. So you've got to think about your individual lifestyles, your individual finances, your individual morals, values, beliefs, ethics, your individual mannerisms, your individual attitudes, what drives you, what you value. You got to think about all these things on an individual basis, and do they match up? Are they complementary? Are they similar? Are they the same? Are they some things you can work with? Or are they just too different and opposing? And you've also got to think, do you want the same in a relationship? Just because 2 people have a great time together doesn't mean to say that they're suitable to be in a forever relationship. Just because one person makes one person happy in the moment doesn't mean to say they're going to be compatible in the long term. Even if 2 people want the same type of relationship, it doesn't mean to say they want it with each other. You have to choose each other. You have to choose each other equally. Because otherwise you're not compatible. If you want a serious committed relationship right now, and that other person doesn't want that, they want something casual or short term, you're not compatible. The person has to be in the right place at the right time and want the same things as you to be compatible. And if they don't, you have to move on. You can't say, but what if in 6 months' time that person changes their mind? You can't live like that. You have to have someone in your life that wants the same as you right now, or you stay single and you look for someone else, because you need to seek what's seeking you. You need to look for what's looking for you. If you are kind and caring in nature, you're sympathetic, empathetic, you're loving and you're giving, right? But you have someone who's unempathetic, unsympathetic, is a taker all the time. Yes, you could say a giver and a taker is compatible because one is giving, the other's taking, but that's not. Because you have to equally give and take in relationship. If you're giving all the time and they're taking, that's not compatible because it's an uneven relationship. Uneven. You have to have something that feels very equal in terms of enthusiasm, in terms of what you value the most, in terms of what drives you. You have to have the same level of enthusiasm for being together, and you have to look for character traits that are compatible. Character traits that are compatible. Like, some women do actually prefer more feminine guys, right? Some women prefer more feminine guys. Some feminine guys prefer more masculine women, right? So you have to be thinking about these things. If you're a woman that likes a really feminine guy and masculine men turn you off, that's not going to be compatible. Maybe you're a masculine woman who loves being in a masculine energy. It gets you so pumped up. And you actually really find guys in their feminine really cute, and it turns you on either sexually or even asexually. And you're like, oh my God, I just want a feminine guy. I don't want this macho guy. I want this feminine guy who's deeply in touch with his emotions, who's highly sensitive, who writes me poems, who picks me up from work, who sends me little love notes in the post, even when I'm in a relationship with him, seeing him several times a week. I want this guy who loves doing housework for me, who loves cooking and cleaning for me. And he's happy for me to do the work. He even goes out to work and comes back and still wants to do those things for me, because he likes being a house guy. He likes doing ironing. He likes doing cooking. He likes doing cleaning. It gives him pleasure and joy, right? So that is really compatible if you both love those traits about each other. But if you've got a macho guy and he's into stick thin women, for example, and you are the type of person that fluctuates in weight, or you're curvy, and he just wants this stick thin woman, he thinks that is the idea of beauty, you're not compatible, because he'll always be comparing you to other women or telling you you're not good enough for him because you don't look the certain way he wants you to look. And people, it's well known that people, as they change in their life, their body changes. Do you know what I mean? So that person might not end up, even if they end up with a stick thumb woman for a while, that person might change. Anything could happen to their woman. You know, to me, that's not true love, right? You've got to love the person for who they are, right? And body shapes do change, right? That's why it's important to love the personality, right? If you're a person that values authenticity, integrity, reliability, organization, time management, this person is flaky, doesn't manage their time well, doesn't turn up to dates on time, doesn't schedule stuff in with you. This person isn't reliable. If you're upset or in pain, maybe sometimes they're there for you, maybe sometimes they're not. They don't really want to listen to you. They don't understand you. This is not compatible. This is like you've got a really well-organized person who likes reliability, who likes time management. The other person's like, I don't like organization. I just like to chill, go with the flow. This is just not compatible. Even when I was active on dating sites, if I saw a guy that was like, don't take life too seriously, I wouldn't go and approach that guy, because if you don't take life seriously, you're not going to take me seriously. And I'm actually quite a serious girl. I don't really joke around a lot. I like tell it like it is. I'm very direct. Doesn't mean to say I can't laugh, but when I laugh, I don't like people laughing I don't like people making a joke at my expense, and I don't like ambiguous stuff. If I'm laughing at a comedy with someone because I'm watching a comedy film, that's fine, that's good. But if someone's saying something and I don't really get the joke, and I'm not really a jokey person, that's not really compatible. It's just going to kind of drive me a bit nuts, and them probably a bit nuts, right? If you value, like, like scheduling stuff in, and you value your time, and you like to be like really structured in how you live your life, but the other person is like, cool babe, like, when are you picking me up? I don't know, babes. It could be in an hour, could be in 5 hours, who knows? Like this casual laid back attitude compared to someone who's serious about their life, who's structured and wants someone reliable. This is not compatible. This is just like chalk and cheese. It's not going to go together, right? Because one's really like cool, laid back and chill, and is not really committed like you are to being excellent in your life, to being driven in your life, to being punctual and having good time management skills and being reliable and structured. They'd rather be unstructured and all over the place. It's just going to drive you nuts and go insane at their tardiness, at their laziness. And the person who's being tired and lazy will be like, oh, it's just too much for me. They expect too much from me. I can't be dealing with this structure, right? Even though they might be structured in their job, or probably not. They're probably sneaking off and doing things they shouldn't do if they don't like structure, right? If they are into dodgy stuff like crime, or they're drug addicts, or they just value alcohol, right? So they value alcohol, they want to be drinking every time they go out, and you're a teetotaler, you're not into drugs, you don't like that type of thing, you don't feel comfortable around it, that's incompatible, right? There are people that take drugs that are not necessarily drug addicts, and they like taking drugs. I can't stand it personally. Like, there's quite a lot of guys, there was when I was on there on Badoo, 420 friendly, which I found out makes, it's like a drug. They're friendly about drugs. I can't stand that myself. You know what I mean? So it's incompatible. So you have to be looking at multiple aspects of your life and their life to see if you're compatible in them. What do they value? What do you value? What's your morals? What's your ethics? What's your beliefs? How do you both manage your finances? What do you think about living in a home? Do you want to rent? Do you want a mortgage? What do you think about stability, time management, reliability, punctuality? What's your general attitude towards life? What's your level of enthusiasm, time, energy, and effort with the other person? How the same or similar or complementary are you to each other? Or are you the exact opposite and drive each other nuts? Right? A lot of the time, these are incompatibilities. Does it mean to say it can never work if you're very opposite to each other? It doesn't mean to say it can't ever work. Opposites do attract. Some people do make things work. But in the main, you're incompatible if you're the opposite and want completely different things and structure your life very differently to each other. It's got to be some compatibility. If you structure your life very differently to each other, but you're both severely independent and you're not really at all affected by what the other person does in their life, and you're kind of very separate from each other, you could still be compatible because you both have that central belief system and value system that you are very, very independent units. So it doesn't really matter what the other person does, so you don't really affect each other that much. But if you've got two people who are looking for a lot from the other person for the relationship, they're looking for stability, they're looking for some type of like ongoing relationship where you see each other quite a lot, right? And you're going to affect each other because you're seeing each other a lot, then that's not going to be compatible if you haven't got compatibilities. Do you understand what I mean? There has to be a high level of compatibility in order to have a long-term, serious, successful relationship. And the only way you can manage your differences will be very, very different and opposite is if you've both got some way of centralizing the desire and need to be and stay together, but have a commonality that still makes you compatible. Like I said, if you're very opposite to each other, but you're severely independent, don't even need to see each other many times a week. Maybe it's just once or twice a week, or maybe it's not even that. You're okay with seeing each other like every couple of weeks, then the compatibilities or the incompatibilities don't show up as much because it's like you're so fiercely independent. You're so fiercely independent. But what happens in years to come if you both lose your jobs and you end up staying in one home together and you're so different? Do you think the compatibilities will show up then? You bet they will. Things will be different. Cracks will start to show, and you'll have to really work hard to make that relationship work. And it could be a struggle to get it to stay working, right? So you have to be thinking about all these things. You have to be thinking of relationships with other people, family, friends. If you're a type of person that wants to see your friends 5 days a week, they're the type of person that might see their friend once a week or friends once or twice a week. The rest of the time they want to spend with you. And you're like, no way, I want to spend 5 days a week with my friend. That's not going to be compatible, right? You've got to be thinking of all these things: financial, home, friendships, family, career goals, travel and vacations, this type of thing. Staying in one place or not, deal breakers, sex, marriage, kids. Do you want the same things? Do you want the similar things? Do you want complementary things? Or are these so different? They're not compatible. When I was active on dating sites, right, I met a lot of guys that I liked, younger foreign guys, right? But the majority are over here just on a student visa. They say they want a serious relationship. They can't give you a serious relationship unless you marry them for a visa, because they're going back to their country in 1 or 2 years' time. And if you don't want to move to that country, then you're not compatible with them, right? You've got to be thinking long term. If you're on a dating site and you don't want sex, and you've got a person that says, I don't want sex either, how long do you think they don't want sex for? Just because they say, I don't want sex either, doesn't mean to say they never want sex. It could just be like, I don't want sex either right now. Right? It could be that they're okay without having sex for a few weeks or a few months or even 1 or 2 years while they're studying, because they want to put all that time, energy, and effort into their studying, and sex is not as important to them, But it doesn't mean to say it's not important to them and they're not going to want it down the line. You have to be crystal clear. For example, if you're an asexual who doesn't want sex, you have to say, I'm an asexual who doesn't want sex forever. I am monogamous. I desire a romantic relationship with a monogamous guy. This is just an example if you're monogamous. And so therefore, if you're looking for sex in the future in a relationship, because I'm looking for a long-term relationship only, then we wouldn't be compatible if you want sex in the future, like 5 or 10 years or whatever down the line, because I don't want that, right? And I'm never going to change on that. So you've got to be thinking long term. You've got to be thinking, what are they saying now and what are they wanting long term in multiple aspects of life, with the finance, with their home, with the career, with the goals. Maybe they work in a shop right now, right? And you live around the corner from this shop. And you're thinking, this is great. They're living in my area. They're working in the shop near me. Everything is good. This is so compatible, right? We're in the right place at the right time, right? Maybe at that point as well, you're both happy being boyfriend and girlfriend. You're both looking for a boyfriend-girlfriend scenario. But what this person hasn't discussed with you is their future. They don't see themselves staying in that shop forever. Maybe 1 or 2 years while they're studying, or 1 or 2 years to build up enough money to go traveling. Why are they there in their job? What's their intention for their job? And what's their intention for their future? If they only intend to be there like 6 months more, but they want to go traveling for a year, and you want a serious committed relationship now with someone in your area that's staying there, that's not compatible. It's not compatible. Because you want a long-term serious relationship with someone who's very stable and strong and in the same place as you, space as you, and they are looking to venture out and go traveling. You're not compatible. And you can't think, well, maybe in a year when they finish traveling, they might be. Maybe in that year you could meet the person of your dreams where they happen to work in the pub near you, or they happen to have been settled in their job. They got their dream job and it's just in the city centre near where you live, and they intend to be in that job for the foreseeable future or the rest of their life because they love it. They've graduated, they've got a scholarship or whatever, or they apprenticeship, or they've just gone into their dream job and are like, oh, I'm really settled now. I just want a relationship because I want to settle down in multiple aspects of my life. I've got my dream job now. I want my girl, or I want my person. And I want my person. But maybe you are still out partying yourself and you're like, oh, okay. Actually, I am not ready to move in with someone and live with that person. I still want to go out partying. I still want to live at home with my parents. If you live at home with your parents, I want to save up maybe for a dream car or something. There's stuff that I want to do in my life that means I don't want to actually be in the same house with someone. I don't want to live with a person yet. I'm too young to do that. I'm not in the right space to do that. There's stuff I need to do for me first. That's not compatible. Doesn't matter how much you love that person. Love is not enough if you're not compatible. If you're not compatible, if you both want different things, if your futures are in different countries, if your lifestyles are not going to be in sync enough that you can actually be okay with the differences, right? You've got to ask yourself, in terms of compatibility, are you okay with the differences really and truly? Or is that person just going to get on your nerves, make you angry, make you feel insecure, make you feel upset and in pain? Because you want positive emotions with that person. If you want to spend the rest of your life with that person, or a significant amount of time with your person, you need to make sure that you're both making each other as happy and content and calm and relaxed as possible. You need to know that you're singing from the same hymn sheet, as they say. You need to know that the central core parts of your lives together are together. Right? If you're totally worlds apart in what you think and what you want and what you believe and how you act and how you treat other people, it's not compatible for a healthy relationship long term. Compatibility is the last essential component that you need for a serious, committed, long-lasting relationship. You can have attraction. You can have mutual attraction. You can have so much chemistry, so much passion, excitement. But if you haven't got emotional connection there, if you haven't got understanding, if you haven't got happiness, if you haven't got joy, if you're completely opposite in many different ways of your character, the way you like to live your life, the way you like to plan or unplan and think and be and do, if you're so different, you're just going to drive each other mad up the wall or make each other very unhappy. So you have to be thinking long term. There's multiple aspects, but all these are the major ones. Relationships with other people, family, friends, maybe you've got different boundaries as well. This is another incompatibility. If you think that flirting is okay with other people, you're in a relationship, serious committed relationship, or you want to be in a serious committed relationship, but you think flirting is harmless, it's a bit of fun with other people while you're in that relationship, but that person's idea of commitment is very different to yours. Like, you don't go flirting with other people in your relationship with me. Your flirting days with other people are over. It's not funny. You shouldn't want to do it. It's totally inappropriate. And it's deeply hurtful, right? If you both have these different mindsets of what commitment actually means, you're incompatible. If someone says, I'm committed to you, say, what does that look like? Tell me what commitment means for you. Commitment might just mean, oh, I'm making sure I video call you once a week. I'm committed to that. Does that mean to say they're committing to you for the rest of your life? No, right? If they say, I want a serious and committed relationship, what does the serious mean? And what does the committed mean? What does commitment look like to them? Does their commitment look like the same as your commitment? Or do they want even more from you than you're prepared to give? A long time ago on a dating site, there was a guy who would want to see me every night of the week. And I just said, I can't do that. And he actually lived in Exeter, from what I remember. He lived in Exeter, very close to it. But you know what I mean? But I'm like, I can't be doing that. I've got work to do. I've got my mission to help asexuals. I can't be seeing you every night of the week. Even 5 nights a week would be too much for me. I can't be doing it. And he's like, well, that wouldn't work for me. I need someone who's going to be wanting to see me all the time. And ideally, I wanted someone who's going to live with him. And I didn't want to live with him. I didn't want to live with the guy. I like living on my own. So that's incompatible. He knew that he wasn't going to be happy. I was glad that he knew soon that we weren't compatible. We were both aesthetically attracted to each other, but we weren't compatible. And he hit that nail on the head. And like, we're not compatible very soon on, because he knew that I couldn't match his needs. So it's not just about a guy matching my needs. It's about, can I match a guy's needs? And that guy knew he needed a lot more in-person seeing time commitment from me that I was prepared to give and could give. So you have to be thinking about all these different aspects about what's important to you, what your morals, values, and beliefs are, different aspects of your life. And don't just think about the goals independent of each other. Think about, what are your goals together? Like, what is your end goal? Do you want marriage in the end together? Do you want to be living together? Or do you just want to go from seeing each other once a week to 5 days a week together, for example? Or is the commitment you stay in your own separate places, but you spend like 2 nights a week over each other's homes? So you're splitting which homes you're in, and you're still seeing each other like 4 nights a week, which might be 5 or 6 days when you're going there in the day. You know what I mean? So you've got to be thinking about all these things and how they work out in practical terms, right? And if there's differences, are they differences you can work with, or are they going to drive you crazy, make you miserable, upset, or in pain? Think about all these things. Ask them what commitment means to them, and know what commitment means to you. But commitment can be in lots of different aspects. That person could be committed to their friends, committed to their family, and committed to you. But which one are they committed to more? And how would commitment with 3 different lots of people, you, friends, family, how would that show up every week? How would that pan out in the life? Would they like be seeing you for 1 hour a week? but yet their friends they're seeing for 3 days a week, their family they're seeing for another 3. They just want to see you for 1 hour a week, and the rest of the time they're having on their own. Like, what does commitment mean? Maybe your commitment is, I want to see you 7 days a week. I want to live with you. I want to marry you. I want kids with you. That's my commitment. And the other person's like, well, my commitment is I want to see you twice a week. Not really keen on marriage. Don't want to have children. That's not compatible, you know? My commitment to you is I'm going to see you twice a week, and then I'm not going to speak to you for the rest of the week. Like, seriously? That's not good and effective communication. Just like seeing you twice a week, then disappearing. That's probably more like, I want you for the fantasy and the excitement when it suits me twice a week, but I don't actually want the serious committed relationship part where I have to put time, energy, and effort in to text you and message you because I actually genuinely care about you. If a person just wants to see you twice a week when they want to see you, they don't want to contact you in between. They don't really care about you as a person. They don't care what happens to you. They don't care how you're feeling. They don't care to understand you more and get to know you more. They probably just want sex. So you've got to be thinking about all these different aspects, and you've got to be relatively the same, similar, or complementary to each other, right? You've got to be saying in your mind what's acceptable and what isn't. The closer you can get to matching each other on the major core values, beliefs, ethics, individual goals being compatible, as well as long-term goals for a relationship together, the more chance you have at success. The more different you are, the more opposite you are, the more the things that you're different on are actually so the opposite of what the other wants, needs, and desires and would make them happy, the less likely it is to work long term or work even in the short term, drive each other nuts or be very miserable together. So please, please, please do think that it's not just if a person loves you, cares about you, wants you, needs you. That is actual surface level stuff. In terms of that is not what it takes to make a good, healthy, committed relationship. I could love a guy implicitly. I could love him so much. But if he wants kids and I don't, we're incompatible. If he wants marriage and I don't, we're incompatible. Doesn't matter how much you love someone, if they do not want the same things as you, it's not compatible. I could love an Indian guy, for example, another Indian guy, not my ex I'm talking about. In theory, I could love another Indian guy, but if he's like, I need marriage, I want marriage in the future, that's it. I can't be without marriage. That's what my family expects of me. That's what I want for myself. It's not compatible with me because I don't want marriage. Right? So this is what I mean. You have to be thinking about compatibility. Love is not enough, unfortunately. Loving someone does not mean you're compatible with them. I hope you found this video useful, helpful, insightful. If you have, please pop a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and hit the bell icon so you never miss an episode. And if you want more life lessons to ace your life, get Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Ace Your Life. This is a best-selling book. It's bestseller when it came out in April, and it's a bestseller this last 7 days as well. All over again. So An Asexual Perspective is my other best-selling book. Grab a copy of each of those on Amazon, and I'll see you soon in the next video live stream. Don't forget, like I said, to subscribe, thumbs up, and comment below if you've got any questions, queries about anything I've said tonight, today, whatever time it is where you live. And if you want me to make a video on a specific topic, please post that down below. Love to know what you think as always. Lots of love. Keep being beautiful. Ace you. Bye.